Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about 14 books that I have given 1 star. And these are the only 1 star books I have ever given, pretty much spanning my time being a reader. And I started reading back in like middle school. I will say back then I wasn't as harsh of a critic as I am now. I pretty much liked most of what I read. There is one book though on here that I gave 1 star all the way back when I was in middle school that I even hated back then. I do consider myself somewhat a more harsh rater. I don't give out very many 5 stars, but I give out even less 1 stars. So while I may not give the highest of highest praises to many things, I also don't really give, 1 stars out that often. I will generally give something a 2 star if I have something positive to say about it. I may not love it. In fact, a lot of 1 stars I will say that I hate. But there is one redeeming quality I can give it. There's one singular positive thing I can say about this book. When it comes to my 1 stars, I hate these books. I hate them. I hate them. I have nothing positive to say. And that's that on that. Like they're not it, and I'll hate them forever. So when I give something a 1 star, no, I mean it. It was 1 star. I'm going to hold this grudge until the end of time. Let's be honest. So I think we'll just get right into it. We'll start off with the books that I don't really have much to say. I didn't really give any of these reviews on my Goodreads. I just gave them 1 star and then I moved on. And honestly, I probably don't have much to say about most of these because if it's a 1 star, I tried to wipe it from my memory, but I'll try to give my full thoughts on most of these. But the first book we're going to talk about is called The Beast, and it's by Jenica Snow. And the only thing I wrote in my review was yikes. So I really clearly have no other thoughts on this other than, yeah, it was yikes. I know this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and Jenica Snow really, I think she writes technically like erotica. And this was like less than 100 pages, but or maybe it wasn't more than 100. I don't know. It was about a minute since I read it, and clearly I didn't like it, and clearly I really don't remember it. And I do remember when I read it, it was like midnight, 1 a.m. I couldn't sleep, and I was like, okay, let me just read something, short, fun, fast. And I did not like this at all. It was, like I said, Beauty and the Beast retelling. It clearly wasn't done well, but I really don't have that many thoughts on it. But clearly, I disliked it very much. And somewhat in the same vein is Praise Me Princess by Jessica Kane, another author that pretty much writes, I think, like straight erotica. All of her books are like 100 pages or less. This one, I think I've actually read this one recently, but again, wiped it from my memory. I'm pretty sure this has to do with a princess, and she was like kidnapped prior to the book, and then she was saved, but she still has like PTSD from it. Now she has this bodyguard, and then they like fall in love on the same day or something like that. I don't know. It was, a lot of bumping pelvises, a lot of smut, and that's really all I gotta say on it. That's really it. And also, I think this might be one, because I know Jessica Kane, which I didn't know when I started reading her books, but she does a lot of like daddy kink, which I personally hate immensely. So this one probably also had it, which is probably also why I really didn't like it. I honestly really gotta stop reading her books, but like sometimes when I'm in a slump, I'm like, they're short, they're fast, they're over the top, insane, they're insta love, insta lust. But I'm like, it's short, it's fun, maybe it'll get me out of my reading slump. I finished them, I never liked them, and they maybe get me out of my slump. So I really do need to stop reading them. The next book is Working Out West, which I did talk about recently in my April wrap up. This is the third book in the Polished P&P series. This is one where I didn't particularly love the other 2 books in the series, but I felt like their plot was at least interesting enough that I was willing to get through them, because the writing in these, I will admit, it's not great. So the plot really struggled, so it made the bad writing glaringly more obvious. And I don't know, it's just one of those things where, like, I feel like for me, where bad writing tends to be very obvious is in the dialogue, because a lot of times you read these people talking to each other and you're like, this doesn't sound like a natural conversation. This doesn't sound like I could just be sitting in the room with these two and like I could hear them talking back and forth. It just feels so like stilted and like scripted. Like it just doesn't flow very naturally, and I feel like that's always my biggest gripe when it comes to bad writing. And I felt that way in this book, is that I'm like, all this conversation, like the way they're talking, this just doesn't feel like a natural way people talk, because it's very much like you're trying to get a message across through the dialogue, but like it's very clear you're trying to have a message, so it feels like they're reading off a script. Next up, we have some more 1 stars that I also didn't give reviews for, but I do have much stronger feelings on these ones. The first up is Queen of Quintessence by Tessa Hale, which is the third book in the Royals of Kingwood Academy. And now, I have read two series by Tessa Hale, as well as the first book and another one of her series. And my main gripe with Tessa Hale overall is that across all three of those series, they all have the exact same plot. Books 1 have the same plot, book 2 has the same plot, book 3 has the same plot. I could literally pick up a Tessa Hale series and say, okay, this is going to happen, then this, and then the first book's going to end like this, and we're going to pick up like this in the second book, and then we're going to continue. Like, I could tell you beat for beat how it was going to play out, because across all three of these series, it just did the same thing over and over and over again. And I think I read, it was like her Dragon series first, and then I went back and I read The Royals of Kingswood, because I technically read the first book like way back when I reread it after reading the other one, and I could just see, I'm like, okay, well, this is the exact same thing that happened in this other series. And my main gripe with this book 3 is that it got very like PBS after school special, Disney Channel, the the weaker, the not as cool kids, they're figuring out that like they have strong powers, and they're just as worthy as the popular kids and the strong kids. That's what it was giving, and it was trying to get that message across, and it was just like bashing me over the head with that point. And I was like, okay, I get it, I get it, I get it. And this is a like why choose paranormal romance that takes place at an academy, like they all are. And it's just like, and it was getting very repetitive, like the same things would be discussed over and over again. And also, this is a petty reason, but like this girl kept passing out in this book. Literally, like 6 separate times in this book, she would pass out, and that's how the chapter would end. And she'd pass out, like everything goes black, and then she'd wake up in the next chapter. And I'm like, why do we keep doing this? I get you're trying to like move this forward and shift this to something else, but you need to find a different way to do it, because having her pass out at the end of every other fucking chapter was so stupid. Because like that clearly something's wrong. You need to get yourself checked out. Something, because you should not be passing out every other goddamn second. Okay. Next up, we have 2 books by Sam Crescent, who's very much in the same vein of the Jenica Snow and Jessica Canes in the writing world. Same like short, smutty, insta love, insta lust, stuff like that. I haven't read one of her books in years, but I read a lot of them when I was like in college. And the first one was The Alpha's Nanny, and I actually wrote a review for this one. I said, this book sucks. I pretty much disliked all the characters in this book, and the writing wasn't good. Some sentences don't make any sense at all. I had to skim the last 50% just to try and make it through, which is sad because I like a lot of just Sam Crescent's works. This one just wasn't it. So clearly at the time I was like into her writing, but I do remember even back then I was saying the writing was bad in it. And back then I could read bad writing and still really enjoy it and still like not really blink an eye. Now I genuinely can't handle bad writing. So I know I would hate it even more now. And I do specifically remember with Sam Crescent, her books read like she didn't read the whole thing through. She was just writing each chapter each day, writing each chapter, and then just sent it off and published it, and wouldn't actually go back and read it through to make sure that everything connected and everything made sense. Because sometimes you'd read something in like chapter 1 and they tell you something, and then you'd read it again in like chapter 3, but they're stating it like it was said for the first time. And I'm like, okay, we already know this information. Why are we acting like this is new? Or they'll say one thing in one chapter and then completely contradict it in another chapter, which I think is what happened in Stranded with Her Bullies, which is another one that I read a review for. I'm not going to read all of it, but I'll kind of give you the gist. This one, I said too much sex. And that's saying something, because this is basically erotica. But this was at a time when like I personally thought like the more smut, the better. Now I'm very much the opposite. I like prefer honestly not having smut in most of my books. But back then I was like, no, like the more smut, the better. The quicker it happens. I didn't do slow burn. And even back then I was like, there's just simply too much smut in this. Because anytime they would try to have any sort of meaningful conversation, it would get interrupted with them having sex. You never really got to know any of the characters. Granted, this book is very short. I think it's like 100-something pages. But like you never really got to know any of the characters. They never got to resolve anything because they would just start having sex literally at any instance. And it was so annoying. And then also in this book, the girl's like a virgin, and her first time, the consent, really non-existent. Like it was not consensual, and it was very uncomfortable to read. And again, I said, I swear no one proofread this story because the entire book is irritatingly repetitive. The same thing would get repeated like we hadn't already heard it before. And at the beginning of the book, it stated that one of the guys treated her the worst because of a shitty home life. But then 20 pages later, it switches to one of the other guys and saying that he was the worst to her. So that's what I'm saying. Like her books, it was clear, at least with these at the time, that like there was no proofreading, nothing. She just sent these out into the world because she would contradict herself or she'd repeat the same things. And I just did not like these books. They were not good. Next up is, I think it's an essay, which is I Hate Men by Pauline Armange. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. My main gripe with this is that it is short. It's like 80 pages. I thought there was going to be a bit more like nuance, a bit more discussion into the title I Hate Men, because clearly that title's like, sensational. It's supposed to like get your attention. It's supposed to make you want to open it up and see what the author has to say, because I Hate Men is definitely a very striking title that's supposed to catch your attention. And really, that's really all the book was. It was just I hate men. And yeah, I hate them. I don't like them. I hate men. That's it. And I don't know. I feel like I just wanted more. And I mean, it is only 80 pages, so maybe I was expecting too much. But I was like, I feel like I wanted a bit more of a discussion with it, a bit more something than just I hate men, because the title tells me that. And it didn't really go any deeper within the 80 pages that I read. It was just I hate men. And I was like, okay, I guess. I don't know what you needed to write 80 pages of just I hate men for. Like, tell me more. Let's get a little deeper here, Next is Unraveled by Cam Newhold. And I've actually read like a bunch of Cam Newhold. My favorite series from this author is Forebears Construction, which they're all MM romances that follow a construction crew. And those are great. They're low angst, they're fun. I feel like I like always pick them up because I'm always rereading them. Anytime I like don't know what I want to read, I just kind of pick them up because they're funny and they're just, they're very low stakes. This book, however, because I think this is a part of a different series. Yeah, it's the first book in the Inked series. I mainly didn't like this book because one of our main characters, he's a single father, and he's dealing with a custody issue with his ex-wife and her new husband. And my main issue is that I'm like, the custody battle just didn't make any sense. And it was pissing me off so bad. Because from what's saying, they have 50-50 custody. Like, that's been decided by the courts. He is 50, she is 50. The ex-wife has decided she wants to move to like New York or something, which is like across the country. And she's like, okay, well, I'm taking the kid with me. And that's just how it's going to be. And like the court's going to give me 100% custody because like I'm going to go put her into this private school that's like really prestigious or whatever. And it's going to get to her, and that's what they're going to do. And then in the book, they were like, the court's like, yeah, we're revoking your 50 custody, and she's going to have 100% custody. And then they move, and then he has to follow them. And then like that's how the story ends. Like he follows him, blah, 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 whatever. My issue is, in what world are you granted 50-50 custody and they just take it away because one party wants to move? That makes no sense. Like, don't get me wrong, I've never been through a custody battle. I don't have kids, but like, I don't understand. That makes no sense. Like the court, you were granted by the courts 50-50 custody. They're not just going to take that away for no reason. And on top of that, the kid's dad is here. The rest of the family is here. Her school is here. Her friends are there. And the court's just going to be like, yeah, you can uproot your child and she can leave everything she knows behind because we're going to put her into some fancy ass private school across the country where she doesn't know anybody. And that's all you have there. But her whole life and everything else is over here. Okay, that shit was making me so mad. I was like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. And even if, because I'm like, maybe I'm wrong, and like maybe they legally didn't have the 50-50, they were just doing it on their own. Still, again, her whole life is there. That kid's whole life is here. And you're just taking her away from everything because you want to move. I'm like, I feel like, if anything, the party that wants to move would have to give up custody. Like, please, that doesn't make any sense. And I like genuinely, I was like, it was making me so mad. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. I don't see how that happens. I could be wrong. Feel free to correct me. But in what world does the court just take away custody from someone like that? The next book, which I think is my first ever 1-star that I'd ever given out, is The Hate List by Jennifer Brown. Now, I read this book back in like middle school or high school, and this book all revolves around a school shooting. Our main character and her boyfriend, they create what they call their hate list, and it's pretty much a list of everyone who's ever like bullied them, the teachers who won't help them, pretty much anyone who's kind of like treated them like shit in their day-to-day lives, mainly at their school. And her boyfriend uses that hate list as essentially a hit list when he commits a school shooting. And my gripe with this book is that her parents, pretty much don't believe that she had nothing to do with it. And she had no idea he was going to do it. She just thought, okay, we're making this list of all these people that hate us. She didn't know he was going to use that in the shooting. And she even like jumps in front of someone to save them, and like he accidentally shoots her. And when he accidentally shoots her, he like shoots himself because he thinks he killed her. And that's how like the book starts. Eventually she goes back to this school, and like her parents don't believe that she has nothing to do with this, and they're like, you ruined our lives, everyone here hates us, and like we hate you essentially. And I'm just like, I don't know, I was like, I feel like her parents really should have stuck by her and like supported her. But like they're very much like, no, you ruined our life, fuck you, we want nothing to do with you, even though like she still lives there, she's like 17. And my other gripe, as a kid, that was like my main gripe. I was like, I just don't understand how like you could abandon your kid like that, like just so easily. And like basically, like I think her mom even says like, I hate you, like to her face, I hate you, you ruined my life. That's something specifically she says. And my main gripe as an adult, because now that I think back on it, I'm like, why would you send your child back to the same school that everyone thinks she committed, she participated, and was accomplice in this school shooting to? These people who survived, whose friends were killed, think that your daughter had a part in killing their friends and wanting to kill them. And you don't think for her own safety, maybe you should have switched schools? Maybe you should have homeschooled her? I don't remember if this is like a small town, so like maybe they couldn't switch schools or they couldn't afford it. I don't know. But as an adult, I'm like, for her own fucking safety, even if now, okay, now you hate her, I would think bare minimum you could at least try to protect her, because no way it was safe for her to go back to that school where all of these people and the parents, because like pretty much everyone at the school hates her, her parents hate her, literally every single person hates her. By the time you get to the end of the book, everyone still fucking hates her, and she just like moves to New York. That shit pissed me off so bad. I remember that's probably one of the first books that I genuinely hated. But I will say, back then I didn't like books that didn't have like happy endings, and this book didn't really feel like it resolved anything. So maybe if I reread it now, I might like it more. But I remember hating it so much back then. And I don't know. I don't feel like my concerns that I just listed would be differing now, but who knows? All right, we've got 4 books left. I think the first one we're going to talk about is Mama and the Alien Warrior. I know, such a lovely name. This is one that I think is one of the first recommendations I got from Book Talk, which definitely is what made me a little jaded toward any books that I got recommended from Book Talk from then on out. But I think I just finished reading Iceman and Barbarians, and I wanted another like fun alien romance, so I picked this one up. And my main gripe with this book is our main character. She runs this like, I don't know, safe house sanctuary for like pregnant women, and then they all get like abducted by aliens, and they're saved by, like the good aliens. And while she's there with them, she keeps saying, oh, like, I want to get back to Earth, I want to get back to Earth. And the reason that annoyed the hell out of me is because the reason she's running this like little halfway house, because none of them have jobs, they don't have money, they don't have family, they have literally nothing for them on Earth. I'm pretty sure they were about to get like kicked out of the house they were in because she didn't have money to keep it. So like they were all going back to essentially be homeless with kids. Keep in mind, they're all pregnant or they all have children. So I was like, so what are you griping to get back to? So you can be destitute on the street with your daughter? Okay. And then she was very much like, you, like, to all the other women, like, you can't start a relationship with these aliens, you can't do that, but we're all going back to Earth, and that's what's happening. The entire time she's fucking the captain, like, so hypocritical that she's telling them you cannot do that. In another thing, they're all grown-ass women, they're all adults, and she's like, but she somehow feels like because she runs the house, like she's in charge of them. She's like, none of you can do this while knocking boots with the captain. Look. And there was one girl who was 18, so like, yeah, she's young and she feels very like maternal towards her, and like she kind of has to take care of her, but like she was treating her like she was a child. This girl, 18, she's pregnant, she's about to have a child. So like, no, yeah, she's young, but like she's not a kid. Like she is old enough to make her own decisions. Keep in mind, she's about to be a mother. And she's like, well, you can't be in love with this alien, you can't start this with him, you're gonna have to go back, to the point where like this girl got like so depressed because like she was so in love with this alien that like, and then she couldn't be with him, blah blah blah. And she was just so adamant about it and so annoying while being a hypocrite. And then also the main girl has a daughter who's like 4, and oh my god, I swear to god, this author has never met a 4-year-old in their life. And I don't spend that much time around toddlers, but the way that she wrote how this toddler talks, I actually quoted some stuff. She would just add an S onto a regular word in a regular sentence, and then that would be like how the child would talk. To quote, I likes Prabbit. I wants to help him. I wants to go with him. We's coming to the planet Leonardo says we can watch, but not till you wakes up, and I can't wakes you. Does that sound childlike to you? Or does that just sound illiterate? Because it's exactly how it sounded to me. And it was constant. This kid talked so much in this fucking book. So it was awful. It was so fucking annoying. It was written so poorly. And I really just really hated it. I couldn't stand it. Now, these last three are probably the three that I think I have the most negative feelings towards. First up, which is probably my most controversial one, is A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab. Now, the only thing I wrote in my review is how can the first book be so good and this be so underwhelming? Now, my main gripe for giving this 1 star is honestly spite and pettiness, because pretty much I'm being so genuine, I could probably take like 50 to 100 pages of this book 2 and keep it, and you just read book 1, the 50 to 100 pages of book 2 and book 3, and you're going to have all the information you need. And book 2 is, I don't know, like 500 something pages, I think. Yeah, 521 pages. And maybe 100 of it is actually relevant to the plot. Because there's this whole tournament plot that's going on that brings nothing to the actual overarching plot across 3 books. It's so fucking irrelevant. And I remember reading this book. I know people say that like it has a slow start, but so I was like, okay, maybe I'll get like 200 pages in and then it'll finally kick off. But no, then I was 300 pages in. I was like, are we going to start with the plot now? 400. Still no fucking plot. And here's the thing, if you love a like tournament plot, you're probably gonna love this, because I know a lot of people say that, oh, they loved the tournament aspect, so maybe it'll work for you. The tournament plot wasn't good enough for me to give a shit about the fact that the actual plot that I know is Cat Connects from book 1 and is going to take us to book 3, not relevant. This series could have been a duology, genuinely. That's how irrelevant the majority of book 2 is. And then also, Lila fucking Bard, quite literally the most annoying character there is. Because at one point in this book, she genuinely says, I'm not like most girls. Be so fucking for real. And then also, in the first book, she has just discovered magic in that first book. And in this book, I think she's known about magic for like 3 months. But suddenly, she's in this tournament kicking ass. Keep in mind, to get in this tournament, you have to be like the best of the best. She weasels her way into this tournament and is kicking ass of magicians who've been using magic their whole lives. She's known about 3 months, and suddenly she's kicking all their asses. Be so fucking for real. Genuinely. Here's the thing. If I hadn't read book 1 and this was like just like its own thing, I think realistically this book probably could have been like a 3.5 star. It's not a badly written book. It's just everything else encapsulating it, and then knowing book 1 and knowing book 3. So much of this was pointless, and Lila sucked. So 1 star. Most of that's out of spite. I don't give a shit. I hated this book. I'm sorry the lighting's getting so wonky. The sun is setting, so it's coming in directly. Hopefully I can finish this before it like starts stabbing me in the eyeballs. The next book is Darkness of Light by Stacey Marie Brown. This is the author of Savage Lands, and this book is technically a prequel to that. And there's technically 3 prequel series, and they all run parallel to each other, so they all happen at the same time. And this was the first book of those 3 trilogies. And oh my god, was this book ass. To be honest, I don't even remember what the premise or plot of this book was. I just remember that the male main character, who's supposed to be the love interest, because this is a romance, is an ass for pretty much the entirety of the book. And it's not even like he's an ass and then like he starts to become nicer and she like begins to like forgive him and like be nice. No, he's just an ass. But for some reason throughout the entire book, she's like, I just feel this connection to him though. For what? He wasn't even civil towards her at not a single point in this book. He was just an ass for the entirety of it. He was so rude to her. He would go out of his way to be an ass to her. And for some reason, she's still like, I just feel this connection. Bitch, what fucking connection? He doesn't like you. He clearly doesn't like you. This man hates you. And he's not hiding the fact that he hates you. And then there was this whole thing where he kept telling her, like, don't go in the woods alone. Don't be out in the woods. And then on like 3 separate occasions, this man would take her into the woods and then just abandon her there. And then be like, I told you not to go in the woods. You left her there, motherfucker. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And I think the one that like sticks with me the most, the part of this book that genuinely pissed me off so bad, she goes out with her friends to a concert, and it's like, I don't know, 11 midnight, whatever, it's late, and she's like, actually, like, I don't want to be out anymore, I'm gonna go home, guys, I'm gonna walk home. And her friends are like, okay, have fun, good night. In what fucking world do all of us go out as friends and your ass says, oh, I'm gonna dip and I'm gonna leave, and we're just like, okay, bye? No, we came together, we're leaving together. And even if you're like, okay, well, I don't want to go, blah, 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 blah. You're just going to let your friend walk home in the middle of the night after going out to this fucking concert, walk home. And it's not like she lives like down the street or her apartment's like really close by. She lives miles and miles away. And they're just like, yeah, have fun walking home. And then when she's walking home, some creepy guy like catcalls her in like the creepiest, most vulgar way, whatever. And she notices he's a part of this, like, I don't know, I think it's like a motorcycle club or whatever that the MC is a part of. And her thought is, oh, I'm gonna go in there because maybe I'll get like a glimpse of him and maybe I'll be able to see him. Okay, you're walking home alone by yourself. Some creepy man just tried to catcall you, and it clearly has no good intentions with why he wants you to go inside this building. But you're gonna go with this strange ass man that was very, very creepy so that you can maybe get a glimpse of a man who clearly fucking hates you and at to this point in the book has said not a single nice thing to you. Okay, okay. So yeah, she goes into this building with this man. Shocker, shocker, he tries to essay her. And then she like runs off. She never got to see the other guy because he wasn't there. Quite literally the dumbest fucking character. And quite literally probably one of the worst fucking books. Genuinely pissed me off so bad. I hate it. And I never continued on with the series. I never read any of the other prequel series, and I still have yet to read Savage Lands because I hated this book so much that I was like, no, I'm done. So will I ever get to Savage Lands? I don't know. Because every time I think about it, I just think about this book and I think about how much I hated it. I hated the male main character. I thought the female main character was an idiot, and the plot wasn't interesting. So we'll see. I still might read it. I think I did buy. You should think. I'm pretty sure I bought all three of these trilogies, which also why I'm bitter about it. And I think I did buy the first book in Savage Land, so I own it. So I can read it anytime. But I don't know. I'm still bitter about this book. Okay, the last book on this list is Escaping Houdini from Carrie Maniscalco. Now, I've read the entirety of the Stalking Jack the Ripper series. This is the third book in that series. I've also read, what's the other series she wrote? Kingdom of the Wicked. I've read both of these series. No, I haven't loved either, but my main gripe with this third book, we follow basically Audrey and Thomas, and it's kind of like it's a YA mystery, so it's like, you know, who done it. In the first book, they're trying to find out who Jack the Ripper is, and that's kind of their whole thing. They're trying to, you know, solve these mysteries together, and then, you know, they're also fighting a live on the way. And on this one, they're on a ship, and I think someone gets murdered on the ship, and they're trying to figure out who did it. And the whole Houdini thing, I'm pretty sure Harry Houdini is on the ship, and he's like running his own little magic show, and that's like the entertainment. So we get in this a very stupid, cheap love triangle that is clearly thrown in just to have some like conflict. And what makes it even worse is that the other guy that's introduced as the love interest or as a part of this love triangle is pretty much just a copy and paste of Thomas, but like more of a dick. Essentially, it's like they have the same personality. He's just a bigger asshole. And this guy like uses her and manipulates her. And when he gets caught in a lie that he told her, he's basically like, yeah, like I told you I was a liar. Like I don't know what you're expecting. Like I've been pretty upfront about this. And instead of her, I don't know, pulling her head out of her ass and realizing this guy isn't shit, she then kisses him. And Thomas is very much like, he's not mad, he's not upset. He's like, you know, I just want you to be happy, and even if that isn't with me, blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, yeah, fine. You can understand, you can be hurt, and you can understand that like you want this person to be happy because you love them, and even if, you know, they aren't happy with you, you still want them to be happy, but you still have a right to be hurt and you still have a right to be upset. And it seemed like he was just very accepting of this, and he was like, oh, it's okay, it's fine. And I'm like, no, you still have a right to be upset because technically, like, I don't know how things work in the 1800s, but like she was like betrothed to him between the two of them. So like technically I'm like, yeah, you kind of cheated on him and you're just being super chill about it. I'm like, you have a right to be upset because I know I damn sure would, because this man blatantly lies, blatantly used you, and Audrey is still like, oh, but I still kind of like, I'm kind of into him, I don't know, because she doesn't know if she wants to stay with Thomas because she knows obviously this is like the 18th 19th century, I don't know. And obviously, like, she knows if she gets married, she kind of gives up, like, all of her rights and blah, 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 whatever. And what she can do is kind of at the discretion of Thomas because he's her husband. And obviously, Thomas would never do any of those things. He would never stifle her, but she always knows, like, oh, but there is the chance. And she doesn't know if she wants to tie herself down and, like, potentially give up her dreams or blah, 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 whatever. And here's the thing. Her dream is to be, I don't even know what they do. They, like, autopsy bodies. I don't know what the actual term for that is. And they solve mysteries. That's what she wants to do. And she doesn't want to stop doing that. And, like, she does it with Thomas. So I don't understand how, like, he's your partner, so like you could do it together if you get married. Well, whatever. But she's like, maybe I'll like run away and be with this other guy and like be in the circus, and that'll be, at least I'll be free. And I'm like, okay, but you're not doing what you want to do. What you wanted to do was all this other shit. but for your chance to be free, you're gonna join the circus, which is a complete fucking 180 from what the actual shit that you're interested in. And in the fourth book, Miss Carrie Maniscalco tried to gaslight me and have like Audrey be like, it wasn't him that I was into. It was, the thought of being free in the circus and away and blah blah blah. Because she brings his ass back in the fourth book, and I was like, that's not what happened in the third book. You were up this man's ass. You were so into him, and you were treating Thomas like shit because Thomas wasn't even in the fucking book. Like literally, we spent so much with Audrey and Thomas becomes a side character in this third book. He's basically like a secondary, like, oh, this book pissed me off so bad to the point where like I got like 90-95% of the way through the book and I was genuinely considering like DNFing it right at the end there. I should have, because it didn't get better, but like I knew I was going to continue on to the fourth book because it was the final book and I was hoping the fourth book would like redeem it. It didn't, not really, but yeah. And I will say I do like her other series, Kingdom of the Wicked, a bit more. I gave the first book 2 stars and the last book 2 stars, but I did really enjoy the second book. So it's not one I would recommend, but I have fonder feelings about that series than I do the Stalking Jack the Ripper series. And that is all 14 books I have ever given 1 star in my lifetime. Let me know down below what are some books you've given 1 star. If you any of the books that I've read that you also agree deserve 1 star, because I really, really dislike most of these books. And hopefully, over this year, we don't add to this list. That's my goal. I don't want to add to my 1 stars. I'm fine with the 2 stars. I don't want to add to my 1 stars because those are books that genuinely I hate, hate, hate. And if I'm not adding to my 1 stars, that means I'm getting better at DNFing. So that'll be a win. But that is all for today's video. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.